All right, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Once again, my name is Scott Carter. I'm with Salt City Counseling. I'm a licensed therapist here in the beautiful state of Utah. I specialize in a few things that are hard to find, frankly. I mean, at the risk of sounding arrogant, um, very few people do what I do the way that I do it as good as I do it. Especially working with teens, especially kind of giving people some insight on managing the dynamics in a high conflict custody divorce. Uh, in this video, I got a viewer question. I'm going to respond to some viewer feedback. If you want to ask me a question and you would like for me to do a video on it, check out the description below for my email address. Obviously, make sure to like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. And it really help me out if you hit the tip jar down below. All those links are down below. I take Venmo and PayPal. It will really help me to keep content like this going. Okay, what are we talking about today? All right, so this scenario happens all the time. Okay, when kids accuse you of things that are A, untrue, and B, basically things that the high conflict or narcissistic type X accuses you of. Okay, it is extremely common for kids to mimic or parrot or repeat the things that they hear from their narcissistic parent or their high conflict parent. And obviously kids only hear one side of the story. There's a ton of dynamics here that they don't get. But this is an obvious indicator. This is the number one indicator, or one of the number one indicators. Top three that the high conflict parent is working on the kids. And instead of seeing it as, oh, my kid is accusing of something, and what do I say and what do I do, see it as, aha, here's the proof that I'm looking for, that they're enacting parental alienation. But once again, it's not like the courts care. Don't expect the courts to care. Honestly, when will we have enough from the family court system? That might be my next video. When are we going to have enough from these clowns? It's unreal. But again, don't expect the court to care if the high conflict parent is creating parental alienation. However, this does and should change what you do and change some of your approaches. Managing parental alienation is a completely other topic. Again, there's no book on it. Nobody writes. There was a psychologist that was attempting to write a book on it, and he supposedly was driven to suicide because of how much pushback he got. And to me, that's just a sad reflection of the state of things. You can't really fight for kids without getting some nasty backlash, man. That is this ugly, ugly truth of the world. When adults stampede, children are the ones that get trampled, man. It is an ugly, ugly thing. Let me get back to the topic at hand here. I know I have a tendency to deviate a little bit. But, so what do you do when a kid comes home and is like, you did this or you did that, right? And there's probably far more to the story. This oversimplification or just a flat out blatant false accusation. Okay? First of all, you probably notice that your stomach jumps into your throat, and that is that visceral, fear-based reaction that is based in trauma. This is always why, again, I always emphasize the self-care. Manage your anxiety so that you are not reactive in these situations. I always advocate the use of meditation. Consistent meditation will help soothe the primitive brain, the limbic system, so that you don't have those visceral gut fight or flight reactions. Because when you have those fight or flight reactions, what you end up doing is most likely responding in one of the worst potential ways. The worst way being attacking the child. How dare you, you know, and maybe whoosh, smacking them. That's the worst reaction. The second worst reaction is how you would normally respond to your narcissistic or high conflict acts, okay? And that is with the like that frantic self-preservation, okay? What that can actually do is it can switch the power distance between you and your child, okay? And if they find that that's a way to dominate you, you've got a problem. You do not want that scenario. And so number one is do not get busy explaining your actions to them. Do not explain your parenting choices or your parenting actions to them. Okay? Do not do it. Okay? Well, I just thought that no. No. If the kid's 14, 15, 16, if the kid is a little bit older, 16, 17, whatever, there's kind of a different approach or response, okay? And breaking that down is a little bit more complicated. All of this stuff is super complicated. But some of my go-tos are, just do not explain or defend your parenting decisions. Don't do it. Don't do it to your high conflict ex, and don't do it to the kids. So how do you respond to the kids? Well, there's a number of ways that I would like to approach it. Number one is my thing. People that are familiar with my content and my methods know that I am very, very, very all about asking good questions. So if a kid says, why did you do this or why did you do that, the first question I might ask them is, well, where did you hear that? And let it hang. Don't say anything else. Ask them, well, where did you hear that? And they, oh, mom or dad or whatever. And say, then my next question would be, do you think there's more to this story? Do you think that that's an oversimplification? Do you think you're just hearing one side of it? Do you think there's more to the story here? And if they go, well, maybe there is, so what's your side? My next answer is, guess what? That's not your concern. You're a kid. It's not your job to be in the middle of this. It's not your job to choose sides. As a therapist, I always try to affirm, and I did this just recently to a kid, 13 years old, by the way, 13-year-old kid. It is not your job to figure out what the truth is in all of this. A 13-year-old brain is unable to iron out the nuances of all of this and understand it, nor should they. They're a kid. They need to be a kid. And what I told her, what I told this kid was, it is not your job to sort out the truth, and it's not your job because that's what it is, right? Figuring out which side should I take in this, right? No, that is not for kids to do. And the high conflict parent, which is why they're called high conflict, will do that all day long. Will do that all flipping day long. And force them in a situation where they have to try and iron out what the truth is. In a situation where they're trying to decide which side to take. Do not pander to that. And I'm transparent, and I would be like, look, kid, it seems like maybe you're pursuing this line of questioning because you're trying to figure out which side to take in this. This is not your job, okay? A kid should have a strong relationship with both parents. And so why don't you go jump on the trampoline or go ride bikes or run through the sprinkler or play video games or whatever kids are doing these days, okay? Go be a kid. It's not your job to figure it out. The younger they are, too, especially strong in that response. If they're 15 or younger, I go heavy in that direction. Where did you hear that? And do you think there's more to the story? It's not your job to figure it out. It's not your job to sort it out, okay? I want you to be a kid. And maybe sometimes kids are naturally inquisitive. Maybe they're just like, really though, what's going on? My answer is like, look, kid, this is far more complicated than you think it is. And I don't want it to weigh you down. So why don't you put a pin in that? And maybe one day we'll sit down and have an honest talk about it, okay? Kids always appreciate the authenticity and us leveling with them. But more so I find that kids seem to be absolutely relieved when I encourage them. Not only encourage them, but give them permission to be a kid. Let go. It's not your job. Okay? So there you have it. That is how you respond to a kid when they're accusing you of something and they basically mimicking or echoing something that the high conflict parent said. Okay? Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.